Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to Get Hit with the Truth. So today we are doing the rankings for the Fantasy Heavyweight Boxing Interactive Tournament that I'm hosting through Facebook and my YouTube channel here. This will be on my number 5 seed, heading into the tournament, and that is former longtime WBC champion Deontay Wilder, the Bronze Bomber. Now, before we get into that, if you could smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I continue to build my channel here. So, yeah, this one, I'm really excited about this, this tournament. Again, I'm going through all the rankings, all 32 fighters. Should be done with that by like Monday to Tuesday area, and then I'm going to start the matchups next week. So make sure you're paying attention. But I'm giving a brief rundown of every champion so you know what they've done, their history, because this tournament's to determine, based on us fans, this interactive tournament, how many, who the best fighter best heavyweight was of this millennium between 2000 and 2024 here. So, and that's that's also the area between undisputed champions. So Deontay Wilder, 6'6" heavyweight with explosive power. I am a fan of Deontay. I have been. The guy he's the one guy that has the most insane power, probably the most powerful fighter I've ever seen in terms of one-punch knockout power. He came to prominence around like 2013 area. He was a fighter that had made the Olympics, started boxing late, that people were interested in seeing, what he could accomplish, with that insane power of his. And then in 2013, he knocked out a couple kind of more prominent heavyweights, that used to be prominent. Like he knocked out Audley Harrison and Owen Beck. The Owen Beck was more in, I think he was in 2012, and then Audley Harrison in 2013. Then he destroyed former champion Sergey Liahovic in 2013, and it was a scary knockout, that one. And that really turned people's heads. So, in 2015, he became the #1 contender at the WBC title. And he was put in against Bermane Stiverne for the WBC championship in 2015. At that point, he had knocked out every one of his opponents. But it was a big deal because we hadn't seen a really good American heavyweight in a long time. And people were very interested in seeing if this guy could be the next big thing in the sport, and he went in against Stiverne and was explosive in this fight. He looked good. He just outworked Stiverne, who didn't seem like he could figure out the height and reach of Deontay and wasn't trying to mix it up with him. And for the first time in his career as an underdog, he scored a convincing unanimous decision in what was billed as an upset, as he became the WBC heavyweight champion. Then he went on a run here, with the title. He lasted as champion from 2015 all the way to 2020 as the champ. And in his first defense, he actually defended the title twice in 2015 after winning. He knocked out Eric Molina in 9 rounds, and then Johan Duhaupas, he knocked him out in 11 rounds, but he wasn't winning these fights on points like one-sidedly, so he was getting a lot of criticism. Then he took on Arthur Szpilka in 2016, and another one of those fights where it was kind of tough to judge who was winning the fight, but in the 9th round, he landed the most electric right hand on Szpilka, and it was such a shattering knockout victory. And he retained his belt again. Then he took on Chris Arreola, kind of uneventfully stopped him in 8 rounds. You know, no surprise there. Arreola was pretty past his very brief prime that people saw. Then he took on Gerald Washington, was actually losing the fight, and then stopped him in 5 rounds. Then he rematched Bermane Stiverne in 2017. He rematched Bermane Stiverne. That was in July of that year. And, or no, in February, I'm sorry. No, it was November. Shit, geez, I'm getting my dates mixed up. He rematched him, and in 1 round, he absolutely destroyed Stiverne in only 1 round. He was actually supposed to fight Luis Ortiz that night, but Ortiz had PED issues and had to pull out of the fight. So he went in and destroyed Stiverne impressively, and really turned everybody's head, because it was such a big difference from, you know, what, less than 2 years earlier when he beat Stiverne, or about a little, it was almost 3 years since his win over Stiverne, and it was just such a difference in the performance. You know, the knockout was just explosive, and everybody turned their heads a little bit more to Deontay Wilder on what he could be. And then the Luis Ortiz fight would happen in March of 2018. This is when he was finally truly challenged, as Luis Ortiz went after him in a good fight. I mean, these two guys went at it, and were trading big shots. Ortiz was winning the fight on the cards. He had hurt Wilder. It looked like Wilder might be going out, and then Wilder found a second win, and exhausted Wilder was able to stop Ortiz, who was undefeated, in the 10th round, and retain the WBC title again. Then he would take on Tyson Fury after that. That fight came in December of 2018 after a lot of buildup, and Fury surprisingly was outboxing Wilder for the majority of the fight, but Wilder scored a couple big knockdowns in the 9th and then in the 12th rounds that made the fight closer on the judges' scorecards. And when the judges came back, they scored it a controversial 12-round draw, but it allowed Wilder to hold on to his title again. And then Wilder, the mystique got way stronger in 2019, as a lot of people wanted to see the rematch with him and Fury, but it took a little over a year to build up for, you know, for them to get the rematch signed. So he would take on one-loss Dominic Breazeale, who had only lost to Anthony Joshua at the time, and he destroyed Breazeale in only 1 round. I mean, what a fucking knockout that was. And then he didn't have to do it because he had the proposed rematch with Fury good to go, and he decided to sign on for a rematch with Luis Ortiz, surprisingly, which very much so, yeah, that really surprised me right there, that he would take on Ortiz in their rematch. But he wanted to leave no doubt, as Ortiz had been the only guy to really challenge him up to that point. And what a fight it would end up being. These two would go at it again, but Ortiz looked like he was winning more convincingly this time on points. But with Wilder, you realize that all it takes is one. And in the 7th round, he landed a right hand down the pipe on Ortiz and knocked Ortiz out. Ortiz got up right around 9, but could not continue, and the fight was over. And Deontay Wilder, and what to me was his most impressive victory, defeated Ortiz in their rematch, leaving no doubt. And that was perfect fodder. The 2019 was a perfect finish, because Wilder looked like a killing machine, like he was ready to run over Fury in their rematch in February of 2020. It was like a month before COVID hit, and shockingly, Tyson Fury beat the shit out of Deontay Wilder that night. Wilder, as good as he is, got destroyed against Fury in the rematch. Fury dominated him. He stopped him in 7 rounds of that fight, and took the WBC title. That was the first loss of Wilder's career. He cited that it was because his outfit was too heavy and a bunch of other excuses. He tried to say that Fury cheated with his gloves, but it was a bunch of bullshit excuses that never held up. There was never any proof of. But then, but he had an automatic rematch clause in the contract. So in March of 2021, after the pandemic had kind of blown over a little bit more, he finally got Fury back in the ring after taking him to court and would challenge Fury for the WBC belt. But this time it ended up being an all-out war between the two. This was my 2021 fight of the year right here in all of boxing, not just heavyweight. The two went at it, knockdown, drag-out affair. I think they traded 5 knockdowns in the fight. He almost knocked Fury out in the 4th round, putting him down twice. But Fury weathered it. He found his rhythm and his stamina, and he ended up brutally knocking out Wilder in the 11th round of their rematch as he retained the WBC title. Since then, Wilder has not been in a championship fight, so that was his last championship fight up until this point. He is 1-1 since the 2 losses to Fury, knocking out Robert Helenius in 1 round and then suffering an upset decision loss to Joseph Parker. But tomorrow he's fighting Zhilei Zhang to try to get himself back into the mix. But we can only go with what we got now based on what you think of Wilder. 13 title fights. He finished 10-2-1 in those 13 title fights. Overall, Deontay Wilder, like I said, some of the sickest power I've ever seen. Comes in good shape. He always weighs between like 210 and 220. Lengthy guy, you know. He really it comes in at like 6'6", 6'7". You know, he's in the land of the giants. That's part of the reason he has made such an impact. His resume, not the greatest. I'm not gonna lie. Wilder, you know, with the 10 victories, doesn't have a huge signature win in terms of like one of the former champions. I mean, I think Luis Ortiz, probably his best victory. The only other champion he's defeated during his championship run, mind you, the only champion he defeated was Bermane Stiverne twice. You know, he did knock out former champ Sergey Liahovic. The other champ he fought, Joseph Parker, he lost to. That was a non-title fight, but he still lost to him. Wilder, you know, when Wilder takes it serious, he's the only guy I've ever seen where I truly believe you have to be perfect and stay away from him for 12 rounds, and he's deadly from the start of the 1st round to the final bell. But he is beatable. He is, you know, you can't outbox him. You can stop him if you're big enough, but he is a threat, and I'm very intrigued to see how he matches up against some of the fighters in this tournament, some of the other former champions, how fans see him matching up. I still think he can do very well. But, you know, we'll see. His 2 losses in his career, both to Tyson Fury. So, you know, his 2 losses during this tournament, are, you know, in title fights. And then his only other pro defeat was at the hands of Joseph Parker. So, I'm very intrigued to see how the fans see him versus the other fighters in this tournament. And I really can't wait to see, you know, for this tournament to begin. So, this is the rankings of the Fantasy Heavyweight Interactive Boxing Tournament that I am holding here on True Boxing. This was the number 5 seed, the former longtime WBC champion, Deontay Wilder. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.